Greetings from the 11th inning stretch. My name is Paul Epi, and as usual, I am with my good friend
Alex Schneider.
Alex. It's good to see you once again. And for this podcast, we are joined by another one of my friends and coworkers. His name is Jake Wesley. Hello, Jake.
Hello.
It's good to see you. We had gotten together at work a couple weeks ago. We umpired together, and we had gotten into talking about baseball. And Jake, you had mentioned that you run your own Twitter account and that you have started a couple websites, and that you have become pretty prominent on Twitter. And if you could give your story, that would be great.
All right. Well, about 2 years ago, I was sitting at home on a Sunday morning and decided, you know what, I love baseball, I love the game. I want to share my knowledge with the sport. So I created a Twitter account. The handle is still MLB_NL_AL. And I started tweeting news and stuff that other people were reporting, such as Ken Rosenthal, John Heyman. Since then, John Heyman, Ken Rosenthal, and I, we've kind of gotten to know each other, and I've kind of gotten much more successful. I've gained sources in the industry, and I've been credited with breaking the stories of Hanley Ramirez and Paulo Sandoval to the Red Sox for my biggest stories. All that one day I just got a text from now someone who's a good source of mine, a good friend of mine, saying that this was happening. So I tweeted it out. I had about 200 followers at the time. Didn't really do anything. It had been about 3 hours since I tweeted it, and no other big-name reporters said anything about it. So I personally texted John Heyman and asked him what he knew about the story. And he said he didn't know anything about it, but he would look into it. And chances are he looked into it, and he tweeted out himself and credited me for being the one to originally find this information. And that has made my life change immensely, and here I am today talking baseball, doing what I love, and tweeting, and I've had upwards of 20,000 followers on Twitter at times, and I started my own website, MLBNLAL.com, where you can find the latest breaking news. And this past offseason had one of the quickest MLB offseason trackers, where you could track players, where they're going, something I'm very proud of.
So, you said that you had talked to John Heyman and Ken Rosenthal. Do you still talk to them on a regular basis? Have you talked to them this season? Have you talked to them in the off season?
Well, last time I probably talked to John Heyman was in this past off season. I don't really talk to Ken Rosenthal too much. He and I have never really been quote-unquote friends in the business. But John Heyman and I, Chris Cotillo, he's another young reporter out of SB Nation, and then Devin Fink, who's another teenager actually, who's 14 years old now, I believe, has his own website, CoverThoseBases.com, another good reporter, another good friend of mine. And then I've got a couple of good friends over at Baseball Essential. Nick Hamlin is a very good friend of mine. He's over there, and we've hit it off. Other just young reporters coming together, trying to find success in this business, and just love talking baseball.
One of my favorite things you had told me a week ago when we first met was that you were featured in The New Yorker, which is obviously a very prominent periodical or magazine, whatever you want to call it. But it's very prominent. What was that whole story about?
Yeah, it's the best experience, best thing that's ever happened to me in my life, honestly. In the actual magazine and the online edition of The New Yorker, I have my own page, headline, and you can, if you Google Jake Wesley, New Yorker, it'll pop up. You can read about it. It's about me and my success and breaking the stories of these Red Sox players signing with the Red Sox back in 2013.
That's pretty cool. How old are you? 15 or 16? You told me.
Yeah, I'm 16 now. I was 14 at the time.
That's incredible. A 14-year-old breaking a big story. With Ramirez and Sandoval. Alex and I had talked when we were talking about having you on. One of our things was have you really heard anything, or have you talked to anybody big or heard anything big about movement of players or any big league news this whether it was this past offseason or this season so far?
I mean, this past offseason, a lot of things happened. I talked to a lot of people, broke some smaller stories of players that don't really make that big headlines. Currently, there's not too much going around in baseball from what I've heard of. James Shields is being traded, most likely by the trade deadline. His name's going around right now, but I don't know any teams or anything interested. I mean, if you think just based on common sense, there are teams such as the Blue Jays who could have interest in him. And then also, Jason Grilli got traded to the Blue Jays today. I don't know if you read about that or not.
Yeah.
But that wasn't me reporting that. That's just some information to share right now.
So sort of the main thing Alex and I wanted to get into here was we had just gotten done in the past 2 weeks giving out our best position players in both the National League and American League. Maybe not this season, but the past. Alex, what you said? What, 2 seasons, 3 seasons, 4 seasons, something like that?
Yeah, the thing is, a lot of these players have a track record, but some of them don't.
Right.
So yeah, I kind of went. I think I kind of went further back than what you did on some of the positions, which is fine. But yeah, I mean, I would say in between 2 to 5 years, somewhere in there.
And one of the things was when we did the American League, well, and the National League, but mainly the American League, was our American League second baseman picks. You had Cano, am I correct?
Yeah.
You had Cano and I had Altuve, and we got into a pretty heated discussion. I wouldn't say heated, but we got into a very good discussion on why we think, in my case, Altuve is better, and why, in your case, why Cano is better. So we sort of wanted to have Jake on and give his perspective and use his knowledge to sort of bounce ideas off and just have a more in-depth discussion about where we disagreed for each position. So for the American League, we're gonna talk about second base and starting pitcher, and for the National League, we're gonna talk about second base, shortstop, and left field. We'll start with the American League second baseman. Alex, can you reiterate and re-explain why you had Cano?
I had Cano just for the fact of how easy he makes everything look. He's really smooth in everything that he does. He can hit for average, he can hit for power, and also he's the leader on that team. If you think about it, a lot of the number one players at each position are the leaders on their team. I'm not saying all of them. I'm saying the majority of them are the leader of their team. And it just makes it hard for me to choose. You have to do something really special for me to choose you over the number one on the team to be at another position, basically. So Cano is like I said, is the leader. He's basically leading them to the playoffs right now. I know they're behind the Rangers as of earlier today by a half game, but as of right now, he's leading their team to the playoffs as of right now.
I agree with you in the sense that most of these players on here are the leaders of their team, and you said that they have to be something special if they're not the leaders of the team for you to pick them, and that's basically the reason why I chose Altuve. If you go look at his stats the past 2 seasons, 3 seasons, he fills up the stat line, and that's, I mean, average, he's got it. He bats over 300. Home runs, he's going to hit double digits at least. He can probably hit 20 home runs on a season. RBIs, he's probably close to 100 RBI guy. Stolen bases, he's the leader in the American League. And his defense is pretty doggone good. So that's the reason I chose him, is that maybe he's not the leader of his team. I know that I said 2 weeks ago that he is, but you could debate whether that's Correa or Altuve or somebody else.
I mean, it's no debate. It's Correa.
I think it's
Correa.
I think it's Altuve, but that's just my opinion. But I'm just one of those guys that just, if you fill up a stat line like that, it's so hard for me to ignore you. So Jake, do you have any thoughts on whether I'm right, I'm wrong, or vice versa for Alex, or who do you got?
Well, personally, for second base, I've got Robinson Cano. But it's for a lot of different reasons than what you guys are talking about. Yes, I like someone who goes in there, bats third, drives in 100 RBIs every single year. Jose Altuve, the closest he's come to 100 RBIs. So let me back it up a little bit. So the thing I care about most for any baseball player is creating runs. Whether that's scoring runs or driving in runs, that's the stat I look at the most. Jose Altuve is not nearly as good at that as Robinson Cano, simply because he doesn't drive in runs as much because he's not in as big of a prime spot in the lineup to do so. That's not Altuve's fault, but that's just how it is. Robinson Cano drives in 100 RBIs every year. Altuve drove in 66 last year.
Was it only 66? I actually thought it would be more. Wow. I should probably do some stat reading up here.
Just saying.
Yeah, you know what? I'll go up and score one up for Alex right now. Let me write this down here. The thing I like about Altuve is his speed.
Yeah, for sure.
That's sort of the thing that jumps out to me the most. He's not going to steal you 5 or 6 bases a year or 10 bases a year. He's going to steal you like 30 bases a year. So that's just
another big. Go ahead.
I was gonna say the problem I have with the stolen bases thing though is like if you take this year, just take this year for example, just because I don't remember last year. But if you take this year, you have let's say Altuve scores or steals 20 bags, north south doesn't matter how much, but at least we'll say around 20. Right now, their pitching staff isn't good enough for those steals to mean anything. Right. That's basically. I mean, a lot of times when people get steals, it can be you can look at it as a team stat. Like if Billy Hamilton right now, let's say he's on the Cubs playing center field, he steals 50 bags. I look at that as a team stat because those 50 stolen bases means that he's scoring runs quicker. Altuve this year, I don't care how many runs he scores. If their pitching staff doesn't hit, that's an individual. I look at that as an individual number. So the 20 steals don't mean nothing if he doesn't score.
Although you can't blame him for whether it's the rest of their lineup or their pitching staff not doing anything. Because who knew coming into the season that Dallas Keuchel would be as bad as he has been?
I mean, what are you comparing here? How valuable a player is to his team or the skill and the best player in that position? I think the best player in that position is Cano. No doubt Altuve is more valuable to his team because of all the things he can do. But if I was in a Game 7 of the World Series, down by 3, bases loaded, 2 outs, bottom of the ninth, who would you rather have at the plate? Jose Altuve or Robinson Cano? That's what I'd ask myself.
Well, I'd probably rather have Cano just because he has more raw power. But, I mean, that's a good point. Who would you rather have in a clutch situation? Probably Cano because he has a track record. He's played for a big-time team in the Yankees. He's won before.
Seattle's on a big-time team, Paul? Are you putting my Mariners in the dumpster?
I'm not putting them in the dumpster, but I'm not calling them a big-time team through June 1st and a season where they've shown they can be good, but they need to show me more.
Equally as low as the market as they are each other.
Exactly.
I say the way I look at the Mariners is more like a Cardinal team. They go out, they handle their business, and then they go to the next game. They're not doing anything too flashy. I mean, it's nothing too crazy. It's just play a game, go on to the next one. 27 outs, next game.
Fair enough. Alex, I'll give you the win on that one, but
you better.
We'll see if I can.
He broke the tie. That's not. You're gonna give me the win. I won that one.
That's fine. We're gonna continue on here and see what you can do. Next is AL starting pitcher. I had Chris Sale. For me, I don't know what to say about the guy. Just go watch him pitch.
It's a no-brainer.
I'm not going to call him Clayton Kershaw, but I mean he is the best pitcher in the American League, and I don't think it's that close. Alex, you had Marcus Stroman.
Yeah, I had Marcus Stroman, and this is where I kind of looked at it from like this year to last year kind of basis. Basically, the guy tore his ACL. He comes back at the end of the season and pitches really, really well. Really well. This year he comes in as the ace of the staff. He's only like 5'6", something like that. Throws nasty sliders. He has monstrous heat on his fastball. The only problem with his team is, and I'm shocked to say this about the Blue Jays, as from last year, is that they don't score enough runs. He's an awesome pitcher. I guess on this one it was more I like Stroman more than I like Sale because Stroman knows how to pitch. Up until this year, Sale didn't, but he knows how to pitch to contact to get those low pitch counts in games. Sale, for the longest time, knew strikeout, and was only going to about the 6th or 7th because he was at 100 pitches.
Sale also gets wins. Stroman's ERA this year's 4.4, something around there. I mean, I don't think it's much of a debate between those two. I think really the only close pitchers in the American League is Sale. Sale's number 1 in my opinion. Number 2, maybe David Price, maybe Felix Hernandez. Stroman's not top 20 for me.
Alex, you brought up kind of an interesting point. Is I see the Blue Jays as sort of the anti-Cardinals in a sense that the Cardinals coming into this season, the pitching staff wasn't a concern. Like we didn't think the pitching staff would be this off and on and sometimes downright bad as it has been this season. We were more worried about the offense. For the Blue Jays, it's the exact opposite. While the pitching staff was good, it wasn't going to be probably best in the league or anything. But the pitching isn't the issue for them. It's the offense, which on paper that's the best offense in the league, and I don't think it's all that close.
No, like you said, on paper,
Sale wins game. Sale has been so good the past couple of years, and he's played for the White Sox. They have been a trash team the past couple of seasons. They have not put anything together. That's why he's more impressive to me.
Oh, I'm not. Like I said, on this pick, it was I like Stroman more than I like Sale in my eyes. As I feel like that's why I picked him. I'm not doubting Sale's nastiness because I'll tell you this: for me, it would be really hard on the decision between Sale and Stroman, who's coming for me. Like I need a Game 7 win, just because of the different pitching styles that they have. That's the way I kind of looked at it.
Yeah, they're completely different.
Yeah, Sale's a lot of strikeouts, high strikeouts, and Stroman's not. Stroman's a lot of ground balls, a lot of flyouts. He may have 5 or 6 strikeouts by the end of his outing, and that's about it. But he's efficient with his pitches. That's what I like in a pitcher. I like low pitch count, but can still get me through 7 innings. That's what I value in a pitcher. And up until this year, Chris Sale really hasn't been able to do that.
Fair enough. That's a good point. We're going to continue on here. By the way, Alex, that's a 1-1 tie now.
Yeah, just shove it in my face.
Going back to the National League now, we had a couple discrepancies, although it wasn't quite as big of a difference as the American League. For second base, who did you have?
DJ LeMahieu, LSU Pride.
LeMahieu, and I had Daniel Murphy. I've never been a huge bit. Go ahead, Jake.
I don't think Daniel Murphy's that good. He's doing great this year. He's hitting almost 400, but you only know who he is because of last year's playoff. Honestly,
you're exactly right.
That's how most people are, at least.
I had a tough time picking him. I didn't know who else to pick, to be honest with you. There's no one clear second baseman that's above the rest. Alex, I think your pick is good. The past couple seasons, LeMahieu probably has been the best, I think. But we probably should have set like a date to start with, because like LeMahieu's been good the past couple seasons. Daniel Murphy's been good for just one season. So how do you measure that?
Well, as of right now, though, you're not wrong. I mean, yeah, he hit really well in the postseason, and a lot of people fall off when it comes to that. And so far, Daniel Murphy hasn't. The problem I have with Daniel Murphy is he's not a true second baseman. He didn't get drafted as a second baseman. That's the problem that I have with him. And I really just do not like Daniel Murphy. I don't know what it is about him. I just don't like him.
I don't either. I mean, another good pick would be Ben Zobrist, who's hitting .345 this year. If you want to compare
Ben Zobrist, in my opinion, is the same as Daniel Murphy.
I agree. That's why I didn't pick him. I picked Gene Segura of the Diamondbacks. When he was with the Brewers, I was always a big fan of his. Saw a ton of potential. When he got traded to the Diamondbacks, I thought he would bring them over the hump. And he's done really good this year. He's slumping of late, but overall this year he's hit .306 and driven in 27 runs. That's pretty good for a leadoff hitting second baseman, especially in his first year playing second base. You can make the same argument, he wasn't drafted as a shortstop.
Given his age, too, he's not a spring chicken.
Right. He's going to be best second baseman in the National League, and 2 years from now, that's a promise. Because D. Gordon, I've never been a big fan of D. Gordon. He can run, but he's another great pick. Before he was suspended, maybe. Last year he hit 330 with 40.
D. Gordon, in my opinion, is just Billy Hamilton on steroids. He just gets on base more. I mean,
Yeah.
Literally on steroids. Literally.
Yeah, literally on steroids too.
Yeah.
My problem with and Ben Zobrist, don't get me wrong, Ben Zobrist is really good. I have nothing. Well, for a while I didn't like Ben Zobrist. I don't know what it was. And he's a good player. The problem that I have with him is that this is his first year in the National League, so I have a problem picking a National Leaguer. This being his first year. Like we stated in the other podcast, it really depends on what you value most when you're picking these. I'm a more defensive-minded person, and in my eyes, DJ LeMahieu, who's won the Gold Glove in the National League, I think for 2 straight years, I believe, 2 or 3 straight years. I don't remember what it is, but I mean, he gets to the ball that's to him. He doesn't. I mean, Brandon Phillips. Don't get me wrong. I am a Cardinals fan, not any means a Reds fan. Brandon Phillips is by far one of the sickest defensive second basemen I think I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, he's the best. He has the most range and the best second baseman defensively in the National League on crazy plays. Yes, DJ LeMahieu is a very solid second baseman. Colton Wong was before this year. Now he doesn't know how to catch the ball. But most second basemen in the National League and the American League, for that matter, are fairly sound with the glove. I can't really think of too many that you see a ground ball hit to me like, oh, well, there's a pretty solid chance this ball's going through.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't agree more.
Moving on, shortstop. I had a really tough time with this one. Alex, you had Brandon Crawford, am I correct?
Yep.
Okay, and I had Trevor Story. And this is another one of those things, how far back do you go? And here's the thing. It's so hard to ignore what Trevor Story has done the first half of the season. And the shortstop class in the National League is so deep. I mean, there are 5 guys off the top of my head that are insanely good and are going to be good for years to come. Guys like Corey Seager, Addison Russell, Aledmus Diaz, Brandon Crawford's still going to be good. Trevor Story's going to be good. And I'm probably... the list just goes on and on. I just honestly had to flip a coin and just be like, okay, he's the best. But you could honestly put any one of those guys in and totally make a case for it.
Another guy I'm shocked you didn't mention is Aledmus Diaz. I don't have him as my number one, but if you're going to choose Story, who's had just this 1 year and been remarkable,
right?
And you should, especially when you made this list, a week ago was it?
Yeah.
When did you make your pick? So Aledmus Diaz, that point is sitting 350. I mean, that'd be another solid pick if you're going by that. I think the best shortstop in the National League is Corey Seager. Hands down, great defender. Last year he was phenomenal. He's going to be great this year. Brandon Crawford, yeah, he's a great defender. He's the second best shortstop defender in baseball, in my opinion, behind Andrelton Simmons. But I don't think his bat is going to stand around and have success that he did last year. I think that was just like a fluke season, lucky season.
Alex, do you have a case for Brandon Crawford?
Yeah, again, like I said, defense is a huge part for me. I mean, if you listen to anybody, everybody here knows that, and everybody says in baseball, for the most part, defense wins championships, and that's not a lie when you're talking about a Giants player. I mean, what, 3 championships, 3 World Series in 5 years, and the core part to that was Brandon Crawford. The guy, he, again, in my eyes, like a DJ LeMahieu. DJ LeMahieu can make good plays, but he doesn't miss a ball right at him. He goes to the balls he needs to get to, and then will make a good play. Brandon Crawford is diving all over the place. He's making plays, and to your point, Jake, the hitting. Brandon Crawford's the only shortstop to hit. Was it a grand slam? I think in the playoffs in MLB history. I believe that's what it was. He hit it against the Pirates, but anybody can hit a grand slam, in the majors, or whatever. But just look at the way he's been hitting. He doesn't have
7 with 6 homers. That's not that impressive. But last year he had remarkable. But like I said, I don't think that offense is going to stand up. His defense is, above and beyond, for sure. Only behind one, the great Andrelton Simmons, who's the best infielder since Ollie Smith, in my opinion. But
Yeah, I would agree with that. And in my eyes, and Andrelton Simmons probably would have been, if he was still in the NL, would probably have been my shortstop. To be honest with you, that when I thought of NL shortstops, he hit my mind first, and then I realized that he was on the Angels. I've never, with the defensive range, is Andrelton Simmons. He's a crazy defender, really fun to watch.
Another great defensive shortstop that no one really talks about that I'm a big fan of is Jose Iglesias from the Tigers.
Yeah.
And he also can hit. He doesn't drive in runs because he bats ninth, but at the beginning of the year, I don't know how he's doing right now. I think he's doing terrible right now. He's hitting like low 200s. But last year, he was hitting in the low 300s and is a remarkable shortstop. I thought he was better than Simmons last year. Simmons was hurt a lot, so was Iglesias, but they both make remarkable plays.
Yeah, I honestly, Iglesias didn't hit my mind, to be honest with you, just because I thought that the shortstop in the American League was kind of cut and dry for me, Carlos Correa. I know, but you make a good case for Iglesias because Iglesias is really good. I am a huge fan of Jose. When he was with the Red Sox, the Red Sox, if you guys don't know, I don't know if I've mentioned it, is my second favorite team, and I followed them. I followed them just as much as I follow the Cardinals. And Jose Iglesias on the Red Sox, I almost wanted to smack somebody when they got rid of him. I honestly didn't think Xander Bogaerts was going to be as good as he is, and that's my fault for not seeing that. But I really enjoyed watching Jose Iglesias.
Yeah, same thing for me. I loved him. I was surprised they traded someone with such promise defensively and even offensively for Xander Bogaerts. Although, yes, he's hitting 350 this year, so he's pretty great. But
finally, I want to touch on the National League left field, but we'll just do the entire outfield because we had some discussion about this before the show. Is where do you put a guy like Cespedes? Do you put him in left field, center field? So let's just do the entire outfield and each person make a case for it. I have Cespedes in left, McCutchen in center, and Harper in right.
I have Marte in left, McCutchen in center, and Harper in right.
And Alex, can you restate your case for Marte? Because I think he's a fascinating choice.
Like the whole time we've been doing this, defense is what does it for me. And I don't know if there's another. I mean, and like you said, it depends on where you put Cespedes. But in my eyes, there's not a better defensive and offensive left fielder as Starling Marte. I don't know. I don't know where he came from out of the blue a couple years ago with the Pirates. He just came out of nowhere, and it's been good ever since. When the Cardinals play the Pirates, when people like Starling Marte come up to the plate and runners on, it doesn't matter if it's runner first or I think, oh crap, this is a run. Like they're going to score right here because he can flat out rake and he can play Gold Glove, rally stopping defense.
yeah, in the outfield, I've got Braun in left field, which is a odd pick compared to you guys. Cespedes in center field and Harper in right, but very close behind the three outfielders if you don't rank them by position. I've got Piscotty and Gregory Polanco off the Pirates. Piscotty and Polanco are both having great years. Braun's having a tremendous year. Yeah, a lot of people don't like how his history with steroids and stuff, but if you're ranking on their skill who you want, I want Ryan Braun, who's hitting almost 350 this year. He's a tremendous hitter. And outfielders we saw yesterday against the Cardinals.
Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not doubting, Jake, that Braun is an amazing outfielder. But the thing for me in ranking it was how much of this is real and how much of this isn't. When you have that doubt, at least in my opinion, you're automatically cut. I don't care how good you are because I don't know what's real and what's not.
I mean, do you say the same thing about Peralta with the Cardinals? I mean, at the beginning of the year, before he got hurt, I might have ranked him as the best shortstop in the National League. Last year he hit 280 or something like that with 20 homers, and he makes every single play that is right, that he should make.
To a certain extent, yes, I do say the same thing about Peralta. Alex and I have talked about steroids quite a bit, and we think the punishment should be more severe because, you know, one more steroid case came out today. Marlon Byrd out 162 games. It's not working what they have now.
Yeah, that's a whole different topic. I
but
could go for days on that,
that's a whole different topic, right? And I'm
Yeah.
sure we'll talk about it at length at a different time. But when you have that doubt, I just can't put you anywhere.
That's understandable. A lot of people think that way. Just out of curiosity, who do you guys have for National League catcher?
I have Molina.
Posey. I have Posey.
Yeah, I've got them both on my list. I'd rather have Posey, honestly. Molina's not as good defensively this year as he has been in the past. He is getting older.
Yeah.
But they've stolen on the Cardinals have allowed the least amount of stolen bases this year, but I wouldn't credit Molina for that. I guess I would because he's intimidating, but they've also attempted to steal the least on him, and Molina's allowed 77% of base runners to steal second base this year.
Once again had a tough. Once again, I had a really tough time figuring out who to pick, and Alex, Buster Posey is as good as it gets, and there's no reason
that 4 for his last 45 or something right now. But
right, offensively, Molina's been disappointing the past week and a half. Posey is a monster offensively, and Alex, I think one thing that adds to the Posey discussion is that he can play first base too.
I don't really
I
don't really value that. I mean, the thing about first base is I had a stepdad always told me, I played first base, and I'll be honest, I wasn't really that good at baseball. But he looked at me and said everybody can play first base. For a while I took that to heart, but that's not true.
It's not. I'm a high school catcher right now. This past week I actually played a game at first base, and it was troubling. Like it's the footwork. This is completely off topic, but it is much more difficult than it looks. You definitely have to get used to it. So I wouldn't say first base is easy at all.
Exactly. It's just like every other position. It takes practice. I've seen people trip over first base, run in to catch the ball. I've seen them not know what to do on a bunt. There's a lot of stuff, and it's honestly, I would say that first base, other than catcher, is probably the one position you have to use a lot of your head. Not a lot of physical ability, but it's a lot to do with your head. Because you have to either know, hey, I can get to this ball, somebody will be there, or no, I can't, but somebody will be there to field it. It's a lot of stuff like that. So, in my eyes, as Posey being a professional catcher, I think that his footwork is perfectly okay to play first base. Now, if you were to tell me, like Matt Holliday playing first base, in my eyes, that's impressive. Because Matt Holliday, as an outfielder, what do? You usually are on a dead sprint to a ball. There's not a lot of footwork that goes into it. The most footwork you do is which way you crow hop. Do you crow hop over or behind? Other than that, there's nothing really there. So I don't value the first base thing with Posey as much. I value a lot of his defense and his offensive production because finding offensive production in a catcher is really hard to find.
Yeah, Posey and Molina are both batting 271, 272. So, Posey has more home runs and he's much more intimidating at the plate. Molina, I'd still say he's better defensively. It's a very good argument, very lengthy argument. If you're not a Cardinals fan, you're most likely going to say Posey no matter what.
Yeah.
But
Jake, I have one thing that I want to sort of just say just quickly. When I had said that Posey can also play first base, you said so can Molina. He can, but to be honest with you, it scares me when he plays first base because, let's be honest, he's not the most mobile person in the world.
Neither is Matt Holliday.
No, neither is Matt Holliday, and that's a whole different discussion as well. But Molina was playing first base a couple of weeks ago. I forget who they were playing, but I heard the TV broadcast say, and Molina ranges to his right to get that ground ball. And I was thinking to myself, oh no, how is this going to end? That's hearing that phrase come out of somebody's mouth. Molina ranges to his right to get the ground ball. To me, is scary because that may not end up very well. I think if he wants to play first base, it should be later in his career, i.e. within the next couple of seasons.
If
and play there
Molina
full
is not
time.
catching for the Cardinals, he's useless. If he plays first base, he's no use to the Cardinals. Hit 280 and hit 3 home runs for me as a first baseman.
Yeah.
Go back and just retire.
Yeah,
But
that's fair.
I don't think you're giving Molina enough credit in my
I
eyes.
agree. Like he's lost a lot of weight. He's gotten but much more athletic. he can handle himself. He's one of the smartest baseball players in the game, in my opinion. Behind number one is, in my opinion, Zach Greinke, which is a random thing, but
I'm not doubting that he's not smart. I just don't think he's a first baseman.
yeah, I mean, first base is, as Alex said, is one of the most mental positions on the field. Whether it's on positioning, for cutoffs, everything.
And Molina has that. I mean, he has the mental side down pat.
Right.
But is the mental side as a catcher or is the mental side as a first baseman? Because the mental ability that Molina has, and I'm not taking nothing away from him, he's got a lot of mental ability at catcher. He's a wizard at catcher. But it's a different mentality going to first base. It's not, hey, I need to drop down to my knees to block this ball. Because there's been a lot of catchers that go to first base, and that's what they do. They go down to the knees to grab a ground ball, and that's not what you need. You need to stay on your feet and be able to move, not super quick like a shortstop, but you have to be able to get in a good position to throw, to be able to spin and throw. You know, it's got some physical ability, but you have to almost feel comfortable every time that a ball is hit to you in your direction, that either you're going to be okay to go to the base or that someone's going to be there to field that ball. And if you're not okay with taking that risk, then you can't play first base because you'll go for everything, which will hurt your team in the long run.
I mean, in my opinion, all this is useless anyway, because Brandon Belt's a great first baseman. Buster Posey's a good catcher. He's not going to play first base anytime soon. Molina's useless if he's not catching. Posey could play first at some point, but I don't think that increases his value as a catcher. If you're ranking best catcher, I don't think his ability to play first base plays a factor in that.
That's a fair point, but I mean, best catcher, I agree. Better player, I think the versatility helps.
That's fair, yeah. Molina also took ground balls at third base in spring training, if that matters.
Did he really?
He's not going to play third base.
Matt Carpenter's going to second, Molina's going to third, boys. Fryer's going to start at catcher.
Fryer's hitting 400 this year, so.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's not happening. So.
That's all I have for position-wise. Do you guys have anything else?
I mean, the only thing that I have is, like I stated the last time, is these lists are opinionated. Everybody's opinion's different. I didn't see the Gene Segura thing for second base. That honestly came out of nowhere. I wouldn't have even thought of that. And makes a great point. The only thing I have is if you're going to argue the positions on the field and who you think's number one, you better have a good case to back it up, because if you get in a conversation with me, Paul, or Jake, we have our minds made up. We have the information. We need to back ours up. But if you just come up to me and tell me, hey, Ben Zobrist is the best second baseman in all of baseball, just watch him play. Well, that doesn't tell me anything. Because he could go out and watch him play, and he commits 4 errors in a game, and then that whole argument's blown up.
Yeah,
so
I'm a big matrix guy, but I look at stats. Yeah, stats are the most important thing.
I'm not a big stats guy. Yeah, I mean, everybody who's watched the podcast knows that Paul backs up stats with, his fantasy player of the week and how they're hitting their OBP is like 800 and their OPS
I like those stats.
9,000.
Like WAR is just stupid.
Yeah, WAR. Yeah.
WAR. Everyone talks about WAR, but no, screw that. I want to see his on base percentage, batting average, RBIs, runs, and fielding percentage, and range factor. Maybe that's all I got.
I like watching the person play, and if I'm kind of comfortable watching them, that's what I usually choose. A big person that I've now liked watching is Jock Peterson, just because he's back to his normal stance, so he almost seems a little bit more comfortable. I just so happen to use him because I'm watching the game. But like I said, make sure you're backing your information up, especially when you're talking about sports in general, not just baseball and football. Hockey. If people argue about hockey, I don't really know. Golf, if people do that. But I mean, especially in baseball, when it's a lot of statistically driven to put the best team on the field at all times, make sure you have your information and don't just come out of nowhere. Like I said, the Gene Segura thing, he brought up information to back that up. Otherwise, I'd have thought he was crazy. So,
before we go, Jake, can you say, I want 1, your Twitter handle, and 2, that website you said you created, and I'll post this in the description. But can you say that one more time?
My Twitter handle is MLB_NL_AL. You can find my website at MLBNLAL.com with no underscores in the website, just the underscores in the Twitter. There
Cool.
you go.
Cool. That's all I have for right now. Alex and I will be back tomorrow with our preview for the Giants. We have not talked about the Giants hardly at all this season, so we'll get into that a little bit. But for now, Jake, it was a pleasure having you on, and I'm sure we'll be in the contact in the near future. This was a lot of fun. Alex, do you have anything?
Nope, I got nothing. Thank you, Jake, again for doing this for us. It's nice to have another one of the oddballs in the world that know actually what they're talking about when it comes to baseball. So I'm glad to see there's one more of us out there.
Yeah, there's 3 of us. All right, so that'll be it for the podcast for the Eliminating Stretch. My name is Paul Eppy.
My name is Alex Schneider.
And my name is Jake Wesley.
It was good seeing you guys, and we'll be back next week.